Welcome to Comeback Class, a podcast that'll teach you how to turn your breakup into the best thing that ever happened to you. And now your host, Lauren Lewis.
Hey there, welcome back to Comeback Class. So excited to have you here with me this week for another episode. If you are enjoying the podcast and you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you never miss a new episode when it comes out. New episodes are released every Tuesday. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that is super important, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and that is making peace with the past. A lot of us struggle with being able to let go of the things that have happened to us, and we carry that pain with us into the future, and sometimes it can last for years, and we're still dealing with intense pain and suffering from things that may have happened 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years ago. So I want you to know that you do not have to forget about the things that happened to you. We're not going to minimize the things that happened to you or the experiences that you've had. There are always lessons to be learned. There's always growth to be had from these things. But what I want you to understand is that although there is pain, there will always be pain. We will always have painful situations that we will have to deal with. To a certain extent, we can eliminate suffering. We can decide that although we have been through these situations that have been hurtful, we do not have to suffer. So if you've been walking around struggling to heal and to make peace with the past, then I hope that this episode will be really helpful for you. So I don't think it's any surprise that our past significantly shapes our current mindset and our current behaviors, especially the things that we experienced and that we saw in our childhood. For example, 2 things that come to mind. The way that you think about relationships likely has a lot to do with how you grew up. The way that you think about money and finances likely has a lot to do with the way that you grew up. And a lot of these things are programmed into our subconscious, so we may not even realize that the way that we think is directly related to what we saw and what we experienced as kids. For example, you may have a limiting belief that money is hard to get because you were always told money doesn't grow on trees. Or maybe you had parents that were really struggling with their marriage your entire childhood, and your idea of what marriage looks like is a constant struggle just because that's what you saw. And this is not like any earth-shattering news. This is something that we know for the most part. The way that we grow up, the things that we see, the things that we learn, we carry with us into adulthood. But I think it's really important, especially if you have limiting beliefs around certain things, that you understand where that comes from, that probably comes from the things that you experienced growing up or the things that you experienced in the past. And you do have the ability to change your mind, right? You have the ability to change the way you think about things. You have the ability to change your behavior. So you don't have to be stuck in that way. You don't have to be a prisoner of the old mindset. The interesting thing is that our minds will do what is necessary to prove ourselves right, if that makes sense. So we will shape our reality to agree with our preconceived notions that we already have, which is kind of messed up if you think about it. But the good news is, like I said, you have the option to deliberately choose the way that you want to think about things, regardless of what has happened to you, what you experienced in the past, either growing up or even as an adult. And you may have had a lot of similar experiences. Let's just say, for example, that you've had a lot of failed relationships and you feel like it's somewhat of a pattern that you keep ending up with the same types of people in the same types of relationships. And therefore, you just have this idea in your head that this is what always happens. This always happens to me. I always end up with these kind of people. I always attract these kind of people. But the problem is when you start thinking that way and you start going down that path, your mind is going to trick you into thinking that that's the truth. So then you will keep repeating the process and you will keep manifesting what your mind believes to be true. So when you drag along these thought patterns like a ball and chain, it just keeps coming with you and coming with you and coming with you. It will wreak havoc on your emotional and mental well-being, which we know is so important. So I just want to offer to you that if you feel like you are chained to the past, that you keep bringing all of these memories and these experiences and all these negative things with you, not believing that things can be different, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not doing yourself any favor. So what I'm asking you to do is to try to consciously decide that that's not the present. That's not the future. That is the past. And most of us have heard the saying, there's no use crying over spilt milk. So what I tend to say a lot of the time is when something has happened and it's over, I say, well, it's spilt milk. You can't, try to shove it back in the glass. I suppose you could, but it wouldn't be the same, right? When something is spilled, it's over, it's done. You have to clean it up and keep going. So if you've never done this before, I think it's really important to reflect on your past, do some self-reflection, think about the experiences that you have had throughout your life that maybe have shaped the way that you think now. And that can be in any area of your life, in, finances, health, relationships, whatever it may be. If we're talking specifically about relationships, because that is what I teach a lot about, is how to heal from breakups, then you might be one of those people that you have these ideas and these thoughts about relationships and maybe negative thoughts about relationships, that they're hard, that there's nobody good left. Notice that those things are directly connected to your prior experiences. We're not just born thinking relationships are hard, there's nobody good out there, right? They're all shaped by things that we've seen before. And then the next step would be to ask yourself, how can I change how I'm thinking about this? Another mindset hack that I like to use is, instead of saying, why does this always happen to me? I ask myself, what does this make possible for me? And when you ask yourself questions like that, your mind will do the work to find the answers. You will come up with the answers. When you do this self-reflection and you are thinking about your past and the things that you have experienced, make sure that you acknowledge it and say, yes, this happened. And this might be why I think this way. Because when you start to look at it objectively instead of subjectively, so maybe like you're looking at it from the outside in, so as another person would see it, you can say, oh yeah, that makes sense that I would think this way because of the experiences that I went through. And you can acknowledge your past, maybe instead of being angry or resentful or feeling sad about it or depressed about it, you can just simply say, this happened to me, but it's over now. You can decide that it no longer has power over you. A huge part of making peace with your past is also embracing forgiveness. And depending on your circumstances, the situations that you went through, you may not be ready for that, but I want you to know that it is available to you, because the reality is forgiveness, when someone has wronged you and you decide to forgive them, it's not necessarily for them. It's really for you, because what it does is it lets you release that burden off of your own shoulders. You no longer have to feel buried under that weight of anger and resentment. Forgiveness is not about condoning or forgetting. It's more about releasing the emotional burden on yourself. And just as we have the ability to forgive others, we have that same ability to forgive ourselves. So maybe you are angry at yourself for the things that you've done in the past. So you can also offer yourself forgiveness and say, I forgive myself for the things that I did in the past with the resources and the mindset and the experiences that I had. This is what I've learned from it, and this is how I can do better from now on. When you are forgiving yourself or you are forgiving others, that is probably the most transformational part about this whole process, because that whole peace part about making peace with the past, that's where the peace comes from, is the forgiveness. Because with that forgiveness, you are able to heal and you're able to let go. And that is the difference between pain and suffering. So pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. It's when you fight, and you don't want to forgive and you don't want to let go. That is when you are allowing suffering. You are embracing the suffering. And we do this a lot of times subconsciously. We do it for a lot of reasons that we may not understand. But the reality is, the truth is that you don't have to. You have the option. You can have the pain's going to come. You're going to have to deal with pain sometimes. And to an extent, you will have suffering. But there comes a point where you can say no more. I'm done with this. This is not doing anything for me. And you will feel so much lighter. You will feel so much of that peace that we are all looking for. We are all looking for that peace of mind. Creating that peace of mind for yourself is also going to be the next building block in building a positive future, building the best future for yourself that you could possibly have. Because again, you can decide from now on, I want to think this way. You don't have to just start thinking a certain way. It's very hard to do that. It's very hard to just adopt a new way of thinking immediately. It takes work. It takes consistent daily work to adopt a new mindset. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Understand that when you kind of revert back to your old ways of thinking, that it's okay. Understand where it's coming from. Understand where it's coming from, your past experiences. But remind yourself, I have the option to think something different. I have the power. I have the ability to think about this in a different way. And I'm not saying you need to just always think positive and, you know, the whole toxic positivity thing. That's not what I'm saying. Understand why you think the way that you think, and then try to figure out a way to alter that. And when you work on it consistently, day after day, over time, you will see things start to change. You will see your mindset start to change, which will then help you change your behaviors, and it will help you build a positive future for yourself. I've mentioned this before, but mindfulness, being present in the current moment and expressing gratitude for the current moment and your current circumstances, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that can really help you. Just trying to do that every single day, trying to be present, that will help tremendously. And I mentioned last week, I will post a link again in the show notes, but you can get a 14-day free trial for the Headspace app, which is a mindfulness app that will help you learn how to do this. If it's something that you've never tried before, you have no idea what mindfulness is or what meditation is, or you feel like maybe it's too hard, these will give you some really simple, short prompts to help you get started if that's something that you want to try. I want you to try something right now. I want you to think about your ideal future, what you want for your future, exactly the way that you want it, without any influence of the past, without considering previous experiences that you've had, previous circumstances that you've been in, things that you've dealt with, things that were done to you. Just forget all of that for a moment. If anything was possible, what would you want? What would your life look like? Where would you be? And then when you see that, when you feel that, I want you to understand that that is possible for you. Whether you think it is or you think that it isn't, you're going to be right. So why don't you choose to think that it is? I want you to know that the potential for your life is infinite. It can be anything that you want it to be, that you decide that you want it to be. And if you're in the beginning of this journey, you're in the beginning of your healing journey, your personal growth journey, you might feel like this is far-fetched, this is a long shot for you. But if you keep practicing these things, if you keep doing this mindfulness work, if you keep doing this personal development work, things will start to become clearer and things will start moving in the direction that they need to be moving, that you want them to be moving in. But you have to be willing to help yourself. You have to be willing to say, yes, I'm ready to make peace with my past. Yes, I'm ready to live in the present moment. Yes, I am ready to prepare myself for the future that I want. If you want my personal help with this, I would be honored to help you do that. As I've mentioned, I am opening up a coaching program. This is going to be amazing. I cannot wait to get going with this program, and I want to tell you a little bit more about it. It's a 13-week coaching program, one-on-one with me. Our first session will be 2.5 hours where we will take a deep dive into your current relationship situation, what you're struggling with, where you want to be by the end of the program, and we'll do an in-depth mindset training focused on your current situation. We will then have weekly one-on-one meetings for an hour, and I will take you through the steps of my course, which you're going to get for free inside the coaching program. So Heartbreak Hero is my course. We're going to go over everything that's in that course. I'm going to give you the workbook that goes with the course so that you can do those activities in there. I will be helping you do them. We'll be doing them together. And not only that, but as you're going through this program, you will have unlimited email access to me so that I can help you every step of the way. I'm also throwing in a few bonuses, which are going to be really fun. So if you're interested in this type of program, I want you to go to tools.theheartbreaknurse.com/coaching and put your email in there. That will add you to a list of people that are interested in the program so I can let you know when it opens up. I want you to know right now, though, that I am capping the amount of clients that I'm taking for this program because it's so involved, and I want to be able to give you the time and the energy that you deserve from me. So I'm limiting the number of people in this program to 10. Okay, so go to tools.theheartbreaknurse.com/coaching if you want to do this program. I will let you know when it opens up, and then you're going to want to sign up relatively quickly because, like I said, I have to cap it at 10, and that is so that I can provide you the most value and to help you to the best of my ability. So super excited about that. Once again, so appreciative that you're here listening to this, that you are letting me talk to you, talk with you. I hope that this stuff is helpful for you. If you have somebody in your life that you feel may benefit from the information that I share on this podcast, please send them a link to this episode if you think it will help them. Thank you so, so much, and I will see you next week.